Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Tournament Takes. Hope you guys had a great Thursday night slate. Hope you guys enjoyed the game between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. Wasn't a great game. I mean, it was, like I said, I thought a lot of people were going to be disappointed by the way that game turned out. We saw the lineup that won the Millie Maker was kind of duped twice. They had Chase Edmonds in there, they had Kenyon Drake. So a bunch of contrarian plays, like I had mentioned in my last video. They took the running game from both sides. They took Carlos Hyde. They took Kenyon Drake, they took Chase Edmonds, and like I said, I thought Larry Fitzgerald was a great play that was going overlooked. Came in at about 17% ownership. They had Tyler Lockett in the captain spot. They didn't pair him with Russell Wilson. They actually paired him with Kyler Murray. But the lineup that finished third was a solo lineup that actually had the same exact players except for Russell Wilson, and it had Kyler Murray. So if you had Kyler Murray, it was the difference was like point 0.06. If you had Kyler Murray even get like 5 more rushing yards, that lineup would have probably solo shipped everything. So it was a good lineup, a decent game. Not as great as the first one, but let's get into it. I'm gonna kind of show you guys where my head is at for the Week 11 slate. These are some good plays. If you guys like what you're seeing on the channel, please like the video, share, and subscribe. It helps me grow my channel, get more people to kind of get onto these plays and kind of help you guys out and win some prizes in these tournaments. So let's get into it. Week 11, we're looking at the slate. I'm gonna show you guys kind of where the overs unders are right now. Most of the slates are all between the high 40s to low 50s. I don't think you have one game that's over. You have one game, which is the Green Bay Packers and the Colts, that are over the 50-point total. Aside from that, everything's right around the same 48, 47 over under. The Falcons total has come down a little bit. We have some news there. We don't know if it's going to be Jameis Winston starting or Taysom Hill. Now let's actually get into this slate. Let's start some analysis. So in this game, we know that Drew Brees was out. He got injured in the last game. He didn't play the second half. You had Jameis Winston come in, and we were all waiting. I think everyone was waiting for Winston to throw a pick six. I mean, that's kind of what he's known for. Sean Payton's not telling us who the quarterback's going to be. I have a feeling, even though people are on Taysom Hill on DraftKings, he's only quarterback eligible. I know people are playing him on as tight end on FanDuel, but on DraftKings he's only quarterback eligible. He hasn't really had much time at all in the quarterback position. I haven't seen him really play this position at all. I haven't been following him long enough. We know that Winston has some rushing upside potential, from what we've seen when he was on the Buccaneers. He can throw the deep ball, he can get the ball to his receivers, but he also throws a lot of picks. So we don't know where this game is, who's going to be the starter. You have Matt Ryan on the other side. This is a difficult matchup for him this week. Matt Ryan does throw the ball. I think the Falcons throw the ball at the highest paced like right now in the NFL. So he's throwing the ball at a very, very high rate. It's not a good matchup for Todd Gurley. New Orleans is really good against the run. So this makes me think that Matt Ryan's going to come out and throw the ball a lot more in this game. We also don't know, if Calvin Ridley's 100% healthy. We know that. Oh, so he is clear from the injury report. He will play. He practiced it in kind of limited fashion this week. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on. Ridley, I believe, has the best matchup out of the receivers. He lines up on the right side of the field. Though they move around a little bit, I think Ridley's kind of one of the ones to keep an eye on. Now, this game, for me at least, it's kind of a stay away, right? I know a lot of people are targeting this game. A lot of people want to play Alvin Kamara. A lot of people want to play Taysom Hill. People want to play Michael Thomas. And that's kind of why I'm staying away from this game. Now, the way I see it, right, the Saints defense is for real. They're not bad. They're really good. Even in the San Francisco game, their defense put up a good point total. They are playing very well. Now, you have Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston, right? It's a good matchup for Alvin Kamara simply because right now Atlanta's the worst at the short passes in the NFL. I think they're 30th right now, 31st out of 32nd against the short passes. Alvin Kamara gets all of his work in the passing game. So this is a spot where you can see a bunch of dump offs to Alvin Kamara. It doesn't matter who's at the quarterback. Now, if Winston's at the quarterback, I think it makes Alvin Kamara a more viable play. either way, I'm off of Kamara, and this is kind of why I'll explain it to you. A lot of people know that Taysom Hill has that rushing upside. So in this game, I don't care who's the starting quarterback, whether it's Winston or Taysom Hill. I think at the end of the day, in the red zone, you're going to see Taysom Hill, and they're trying to rush the touchdown in. And that's kind of why I'm off of Alvin Kamara in this spot. I feel like, first off, the rushing matchup is not great. So you have Latavius Murray there taking away touches. You have Michael Thomas there. You have Emmanuel Sanders. You have Jared Cook there. Just a lot of mouths to feed, right? So like I said in my last week's video, I want offenses that are a little more concentrated, where you know where their targets are going. In this game, whether it's Winston or Taysom Hill, it could be spread out, a bunch of different ways. At the same time, I don't know that Atlanta can actually keep this game close. We've seen them blow a bunch of leads, and they do have great receivers. Obviously, Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones are top-tier receivers. The question is, are they going to be able to get the ball to them? You do have Hayden Hurst, and you have Russell Gage as well. Todd Gurley out of the backfield. So there's a lot of mouths on the other side as well. So I know people are targeting this game, but for me, I don't think this is the right spot to do it. I feel like this game could be very spread out. You could have Julio Jones get a touchdown. You could have Ridley get a touchdown. You could have Hayden Hurst get a touchdown. But like I said, and I'm going to kind of reiterate this over and over again on this particular game, Taysom Hill, in my opinion, is going to be the red zone quarterback. You're going to see him try to sneak a couple touchdowns in. Winston can rush for touchdowns. So regardless, I don't care who the starter is there. I'm just off this game totally. Like, Alvin Kamara is going to be highly owned, in my opinion. People are, they're going to say, okay, whether it's Hill or Winston, he's going to get a bunch of dump offs. That could be the case, but if he's not getting the touchdowns, 9,200 is a really, really high price tag to pay for him. This is the kind of price tag that we saw last year. McCaffrey almost around 10K. And at those price tags, yeah, they can crush it, but they need a perfect game. Like, they need an absolute, stellar game to kind of crush that 9,200 price tag. In this game, the only shots that I maybe want to consider are Jared Cook and Hayden Hurst. But after, thinking about it more and more, I don't even think I want to take a shot at Jared Cook, just because, he's getting some targets down the short middle of the field, but those are also going to be split up between, Sanders, Kamara, and Michael Thomas. So I don't feel like this is a great play, especially at his 4,100 price tag. I really don't want to go there. Hayden Hurst, I think, is actually a better play on the other side. The Saints are not bad. They're not great against the tight end. They are giving up quite a bit down the middle to the tight ends. They are giving up some deep passes down the right side, which makes me think in this game, if I was going to target some wide receivers, I think Ridley's a better play than Julio. But regardless, this is a cross-off game for me. I don't want any pieces of it. It's just too spread out, and I don't think this is somewhere that you should go either. You can take shots on Kamara if you really want to, but just keep in mind that, Taysom Hill is there, and they're saying that they don't want to give, Winston a lot of play. I think that's kind of a mistake. I think people will realize that, okay, maybe Winston does start the game, but Taysom Hill's going to get red zone. Or if Taysom Hill starts the game and he's in there the entire time, I don't think he's throwing the ball as much. I think you're going to see more rushing out of Taysom Hill. So it makes for a sneaky quarterback play. I think he will be highly owned on this slate. You don't have, on this slate, you don't have those quarterbacks, aside from Lamar Jackson, Rodgers, Herbert. You don't have Mahomes on it. You don't have Kyler. You don't have Wilson. So this is a kind of slate that I think maybe paying down a little bit at quarterback is good. I think Deshaun Watson's in a good spot, and I'll talk about that when we get to that game. For the most part, Atlanta and New Orleans is kind of a cross-off for me. Detroit and Carolina. This game, Bridgewater practiced it in a limited fashion all week. He's kind of questionable to play this weekend. Regardless, I'm not really on Teddy Bridgewater. Matt Stafford is kind of questionable. Matter of fact, the entire offense for the Detroit is questionable. You have Kenny Golladay questionable. Didn't really practice this week. I don't think he's going to go. You have Marvin Jones questionable. Amendola questionable. Hawkinson did practice this game, and he's still questionable. If the other receivers don't go, DeAndre Swift is also out for Carolina, for Detroit. So a lot of people are going to flock to Adrian Peterson in this spot. Now, Detroit's offensive line is not great. They're getting stuffed at a pretty high percentage. Even though Carolina is a good matchup, I just don't think that Adrian Peterson is the type of play that I want to play, especially when you have all these other receivers out. Like I I always reiterate, when you have other spots, other receivers that are in good position, then you might want to play the running back as well because the chances of them getting into the end zone are higher. In this scenario, I feel like it's going to be much harder for Detroit to move the ball with some of their bigger name receivers out. I wouldn't mind taking a shot on Marvin Hill, but he's likely not going to make it there for me. I feel like there's other receivers in that 3,500 price tag that I'm targeting that might be better plays than Marvin Hall. From this game, tight end is kind of the only one that I'm really interested in is TJ Hawkinson. He's cheap. He's come down in price. I think last week he was like 4,900 or 5,100. He did get in a couple limited practices, but Carolina is giving up a lot down the middle of the field. And like I said last week, I really like Gronk in that spot against Carolina because they were giving down deep passes down the middle of the field. If all the other receivers are out, I think TJ Hawkinson makes for a good play. I don't know really where his ownership is going to come in at just yet. It'll kind of get more clear as the weekend goes on. This video is being recorded on Friday. It's about 1 p.m. here on the West Coast, so about 4 p.m. Eastern time. We don't have all the practice reports from Friday's practices out yet, so that will adjust some of these takes. But for right now, I'm going to give you kind of the tournament takes that I'm on from each game. I like TJ Hawkinson. From this other game, on the other side, I actually really like Mike Davis. And the reason I like Mike Davis is we know that he's a pass-catching running back. He's getting more of his work in the pass game than he is in the rushing game. We saw against Chicago, he did have those heavy carries. I think in a matchup like this, I expect them to give Mike Davis the heavier carries. Last week, I was a little lighter on Mike Davis because the matchup was difficult. I mean, I wasn't lighter. I actually ended up playing him a lot, but I was a little lower in terms of like wanting to play him. This week, I feel like it's a good play because of the fact that Teddy Bridgewater may be out. If Teddy Bridgewater is out, I feel like their backup, whoever the backup is, PJ Walker, people are looking at PJ Walker at that 4,800 price tag. He can move the ball. I haven't, again, really seen him play, so I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure. But I feel like in this scenario, I feel like at the goal line, they're going to want to trust Mike Davis and give him the ball. So these are two plays from this game. They're correlated. You have one and one on the other side that I think could be good spots. Philly and Cleveland. Now, this game, I'm kind of like totally off on. I did a little bit of research on it. Baker Mayfield is without Odell Beckham. You do have Landry there. You do have Hooper there. You also do have Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Now, it may be a good situation for the running backs. Philly's not great. They've actually been horrible now in the last couple of weeks against the deep pass and against the short pass. They're 29th in both. They're giving up a lot down the middle of the field and a lot down the right, pretty much all over the field, right? So I feel like it's a good spot potentially for Baker Mayfield, but I just don't feel like it's a good enough spot for all, because there's so many mouths to feed. I don't feel like it's a great spot for everyone out there. You may want to take some shots at Rashard Higgins in this game. He's someone I think that's cheap and could kind of pay off. On the other side, on the Cleveland side, it's not really something that on the Philly side, it's not really something that I'm targeting against Cleveland. Cleveland has been fairly decent. They haven't been good down the left side of the field, but they've been pretty good on the against the rushing attack, right? So against the rushing attack, Cleveland's about middle of the pack. They aren't stuffing the rushing back much. But you could take some shots on Miles Sanders, but this is a spot at that 6,900 price tag. If I'm paying up for him, I kind of want to go somewhere. If I'm paying that price tag, I kind of want to go with a different rushing running back with kind of more of an opportunity. We saw last week that Boston Scott took away touches. We saw Corey Clement steal a vulture touchdown. And again, with this Philly and Cleveland game, I'm just not sure that I want to take a shot on Miles Sanders. It's kind of kind of more of a feeling type thing. I think he might get some ownership, but the matchup's not like a prime matchup like it was last week where I'm super high on Miles Sanders. If I'm paying 6,900, I may as well play the chalk Mike Davis. And I don't know if he will be chalked because he busted last week, so some people may be a little more hesitant to go there. But against Detroit, I think it's a good matchup. And the key for me, whether it's going to be playing Mike Davis or not, is going to be whether Teddy Bridgewater's out. If Teddy Bridgewater's in, I'm going to be much lighter on Mike Davis. I will have a couple lineups with him, but I'm not going to have him in 100% of my lineups because of that expensive price tag. Moving on to New England and Houston. Now, this is a game where you have one of the high-priced quarterbacks. Deshaun Watson is in a really good spot, I feel like, against the New England Patriots. On the other side, I also feel like Cam Newton is in a really good spot. Houston hasn't been great on the run, against the run this year. Houston's given up 32nd. They're dead last in points to the rushing against the rushing attack. On the other side, New England is actually 28th against the rushing attack. So both spots defensively are good for the running backs and for the rushing quarterbacks, which Cam and Watson are both. So in this particular game, they're good matchups for both. On the New England side of things, I like Damian Harris. The problem for me with Damian Harris and Rex Burkhead is they're splitting time. You have James White there. You have Sony Michel potentially coming back from IR. He might be activated this week. And you have Cam Newton rushing for touchdowns. So it's so spread out that you don't really know, okay, who's going to be getting the work, right? Last week we saw Burkhead get 2 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. In this scenario, I feel like it could kind of be that same type of deal. So out of the running back pool, I do like Harris, but I also like Burkhead. But I'm much lighter on them, and because of the situation with the rushing quarterback. Same thing on the other side with Deshaun Watson. He's rushing 4 touchdowns within the 5-yard line as well, right? So it's something that I want to stay away from if I can. New England hasn't been great against the short passes either this year. They're 25th against the short pass down the middle and down deep middle of the field. So I feel like a tournament target in this game could be someone like a Brandon Cooks. I think he will garner ownership, but I like Brandon Cooks and I like Will Fuller. Also, Randall Cobb I feel like is a decent play, but out of these bunch, I think Brandon Cooks provides you the most stability. He's getting those short targets and he is getting some red zone looks. So I think he could be a good play if this is the game that you want to target. For me, I'm not really going here. Again, like I said, there's a lot of mouths to feed. Jacoby Meyers on the New England side is also someone that's I think is going to be heavily targeted. Houston is 32nd against the short pass, giving up a lot down the middle. So it could be Jacoby Myers, it could be Ryan Izzo, or it could be Rex Burkhead, or even James White. You never really know with New England what they're gonna do. So I like I said, I'm gonna keep reminding you guys of this. I like to target more concentrated offense. I feel like on an NFL slate, when you're targeting a more concentrated offense, you feel a little more comfortable with your lineup because you know where the targets are going, right? So I feel like there's some spots on this slate that you can expose those, and those we'll get to when we get to the later games, right? Tennessee against Baltimore. This is a good bounce back spot, I feel like, for Lamar Jackson. He hasn't had a great season all the way, this entire season. Comparing it to last year, obviously, last year was an MVP type season. We really haven't had that. Against New England, we thought he was going to bounce back in a big way. He did put up a decent game, but that weather in that game was really, really, really bad. So the fourth quarter comeback was kind of hard. He's also not throwing the ball as much. You have Hollywood Brown getting some targets. He had 7 targets in that New England game. This is a spot where I feel like Marquise Brown and Lamar Jackson could be a viable stack. Tennessee is not really. They're 22nd against the deep pass, giving up a lot deep left, deep right on the field, and Hollywood is their deep threat. You also have Willie Snead on the Baltimore side that is getting some of those deep passes. You have Miles Boykin at 3,000 if you wanted to take a stab. Miles Boykin's really not on the field as much. He did have a touchdown a couple weeks ago against Pittsburgh, but other than that, he's not on the field enough to make me want to go there. Willie Snead, I feel like, could be a good, interesting play. I wanted to get to him last week against New England on the showdown slate. I just didn't get there, but he got targeted in the red zone. He did get a couple long passes. So if you're targeting this game, I like, from the Baltimore side, I do like Snead, Marquise Brown, and Lamar Jackson. I just feel like the prices are a little higher with these guys, so they won't get as much ownership. It's definitely a spot that I think is super contrarian because I don't think people are really going to play Brown. I think you'll get a lot of ownership on Mark Andrews. He's I think he's going to be the most expensive quarterback on the slate. Tight end's been a wasteland all year long, and Tennessee is giving up some production down the middle of the field. So Mark Andrews could be in a good spot as well. But from this game, from targeting, I kind of want to go with Marquise Brown and Willie Snead. Also, you notice that Nick Boyle's on IR. So you think that Marquise Brown might get some more of those targets. But with Lamar's rushing upside, I feel like you're going to see a spot. I feel like we're going to see one of Lamar's best rushing performances since week 6. So I really feel that this is a good bounce back spot for him. On the other side, also the reason for that also is Tennessee's not really getting any sacks or any pressure on the quarterback. On the other side of this game, on Tennessee, Baltimore has been really, really good. We saw that New England last week was able to run the ball against them, fairly efficiently. So I think Derrick Henry in this game is in a really, really good spot. Tennessee's offensive line, they're giving a bunch of carries to their running. They're giving a bunch of carries to Derrick Henry. Defensively, Baltimore is giving up about 4 yards per carry, and they're not really stuffing the running back as well, So I feel like this could be a really, really good spot for Derrick Henry. He's, they're 5th right now. They're only getting stuffed. They're 10th in the rate of getting stuffed, and they're 5th in the rate with total overall carries at 4.82 yards a carry. So this could be a sneaky spot for Derrick Henry. He is expensive at $8,000. He doesn't have that pass catching upside for you. But if this is a game where I think like Lamar Jackson's going off for a ceiling game, I feel like this is a spot where Tennessee is going to be able to move the ball to their pass catchers as well, and you may end up getting some big runs from Derrick Henry. All in all, not again another spot that I'm going to, but those are some good plays from this game. Now we'll get to Pittsburgh and Jacksonville. This is a spot where James Conner. Let's start with the quarterback. Roethlisberger had a great week last week. Jacksonville is actually a pretty decent matchup for him against this week. Jacksonville is giving up, let me get to it. They're 31st against the pass. They're giving up deep production down the right side and down the left side of the field. So I really like Ben Roethlisberger in this situation. Mike Tomlin came out this week and said that they do want to get, rush the ball a little bit more. We had James Conner in back-to-back weeks that is busted, and now he gets back-to-back weeks, right? Cincinnati and Dallas. He had 2 amazing matchups. Now he gets Jacksonville again. It's a decent matchup. It's not great. They are going to try to force the ball, I think, to Conner a little bit, but the thing is they are still, they're still getting the wins without Conner touching the ball. You still have Chase Claypool rushing for touchdowns. You have Deontay Johnson going off every single game. So I feel like James Conner is kind of a last kind of thought for me. It's not somewhere where I'm really, really targeting this week, even though the matchup is somewhat decent for him. Jacksonville's actually really good against the run. So it's more of like, do you really think that they're going to force the ball to him? Because they have other options. So in this game, I think Deontay Johnson would probably be my go-to from the Pittsburgh side. Second with Schuster and third with Claypool. They're all priced around the same price, so I think it's going to be a little difficult. It's more of kind of a guessing game. Again, it's another offense where it's so spread out. You have Ebron, you have those 3 wide receivers, you have Connor, you have maybe a Benny Snell that might come in and vulture some. So it's a very spread out offense, not somewhere where I really want to take some shots. On the Jacksonville side, James Robinson has a tough matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh are number 1 right now against the run. So I really think that Jacksonville's entire offense is, it's dominated by James Robinson. He's the one getting the most touches no matter what the game is. He had 23 attempts last week against Green Bay. He had 2 one-yard touchdowns that were called back. So this was a spot last week where I think he was in a good position. Jacksonville's still been keeping the game close. I told you last week against Green Bay, I think that would be a closer game. This is a spot against Tennessee where I think they can get, or against Pittsburgh where I think they can get blown out. I feel like Pittsburgh can just put the, step on the gas a little bit and get their ball to their receivers. If you think the game stays closer, this is an amazing match for DJ Chark. The Pittsburgh Steelers, though they are good defensively, is because they're blitzing so much. They're getting so much pressure on the quarterback, right? So in this particular spot, let's see, Pittsburgh is giving up they're 31st against the deep pass, a lot down the deep left and the deep right. And that's where primarily DJ Chark lines up. He's on the outside. So if you think this is a game that can be closer, DJ Chark is a really good play. Like, he's the one who can go out and get those big touchdowns. I just feel like if it's a offense, let me look at the offensive line. For Jacksonville, they're taking sacks at the second highest rate in the league at 30th. They have 28. They've been sacked 28 times this year. And Pittsburgh right now is number 1 with 36 sacks on the year. So this is the spot again where I said there's too many options on the Pittsburgh side, even though it's more condensed on the Jacksonville side. The only shot I would take if I think the game was going to stay close is DJ Chark. But honestly, in this spot, with the defense being so expensive, I know last week I said at 4,400 I didn't want to play them. I really want to play them in this spot at 4,600 because I really don't think that Jacksonville is going to be able to move the ball at all. I think this is a spot where they might even shut out Jacksonville altogether. The next game, Cincinnati-Washington. This is a spot last week where I was 100% all in on Antonio Gibson. This is kind of another spot where I do really like Antonio Gibson again, but I also like J.D. McKissic. We saw that they got down against the game against Detroit. I really don't know which way this game's going to go. I don't know whether they're going to play from ahead or they're going to play from behind. So I'm going to take shots at both J.D. McKissic and Antonio Gibson. I want to take more of a shot on J.D. McKissic this week because if they are playing from behind, he's getting that passing game work. He had 15 targets and 14 targets the last 2 weeks. So he's been getting a lot of work. And right now, Cincinnati against the short pass, they're 26th in the league, right? They're giving up 26th in the league against the short pass. So I think this is a really, really good spot for J.D. McKissic. I also like the other side of this game. So in this game, I really like Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissic. You could make a case for McLaurin. He keeps getting there every single week. You could make a case for Logan Thomas as well. They are both getting targets. And you could make a case for Alex Smith as well. He's throwing the ball. He had over 300 yards throwing last week. He had 390 yards throwing last week against Detroit. He put up 19 fantasy points. Didn't get a passing touchdown though. So that's kind of one of the things that I think is a little shakier. Cincinnati again is not good against the short pass. They are good against the deep pass. So I'm a little bit less inclined to play McLaurin. From this game on the Washington side, I'm mostly just taking shots at J.D. McKissic. I feel like is going to be a good one, and Antonio Gibson. I am going to mix and match them. I don't think I'll have both of them in the same lineup. It'll probably be one or the other. A deeper tournament play is if you want to kind of play both. So I am plucking J.D. McKissic in right now. On the Cincinnati side, I really, really like. We know that Joe Mixon is going to be out this week. He was doubtful. I think he just got ruled out a little while ago. So he's not going to play Sunday. So I think that Gio is not in a bad spot. I feel like Gio is going to trend to be a little more owned as this week goes on, but it's not a great matchup for him. Washington is actually pretty good against the short pass. They are 25th against the deep pass, and Washington right now is the second in sack rate, and they're only allowing 4 yards of carry to the running back. On the Cincinnati side, Cincinnati is taking sacks they're 27th in sack rate. They've been sacked 32 times, and they're 30th, third to last in rushing the ball. They're only getting 3.7 yards of carry. So while I think some people might go to Giovanni Bernard, I think it's a horrible spot to play him. I had, in fact, liked T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. You could make a case for A.J. Green. I actually like A.J. Green over the Marvin Hall take that I mentioned. But I'm still not going to go there because he hasn't really been consistent all year. He probably has one of the better matchups. He does line up on the right side of the field where the production seems to be coming from Washington, deep right. But in this scenario, I'm going to take one of the best receivers that I think is on this team. Is going to be T. Higgins. I do like Tyler Boyd, who's a little bit cheaper. But I think T. Higgins, if this is a kind of shootout game or if T. Higgins catches a couple deep touchdowns, I like the correlation with J.D. McKissic. So these are the two targets that I'm targeting from this game. I think Tyler Boyd's a good play, and I do like Antonio Gibson. Antonio Gibson I'll be mixing in. I think the only shot that I'm taking on the Cincinnati side is probably going to be T. Higgins in this game because of the deep pass ability, and he's getting quite a few deep passes per game. So he has that big play upside. I did mention him last week. I didn't end up getting there. I think I don't want to do that again this week. So I think this is a spot where I really, really want to kind of get there. The next game, Miami-Denver. Now, Denver, Drew Lock hasn't practiced this week. We got Noah Fant questionable. We got Jerry Jeudy kind of questionable. Um, we had Tim Patrick that was ejected in the last game. Again, a lot of mouths here to feed, and Miami has been really, really good against the pass this year. And Denver's whole MO is to get the pass deep down the field to get touchdowns. So, we don't know if it's going to be Drew Lock or Raypen, whatever his name is, but either way, I really don't like anyone from this game. You could say Melvin Gordon is in a good spot against the Miami defense, but Melvin Gordon and Lindsey kind of split the rushing work. So I'm kind of off of both of them, and their line, the Denver's offensive line is getting stuffed at a pretty high rate right now. Denver's line is getting stuffed 32nd in the league, so they're dead last. They're getting sacked 21% of the time. Yeah, I mean stuffed 21% of the time behind the line of scrimmage. So it's not a great match. If it was like a Dalvin Cook here against Miami, that's a smash spot for me. That's somewhere I'm taking it. But since their offensive line is not good, I think you'll see people get to Melvin and to Lindsey. It could be one or the other that get in for a touchdown. If they happen to move the ball, I'm more likely to be on Miami's defense in this case. Miami's defense has been pretty good against the last few weeks. Now they get a matchup against Denver, who, Drew Lock has been throwing a bunch of picks. They have a chance to get sacks. Denver is not Denver's taking a good amount of sacks on the year as well. So I think this is a spot where, Dolphins defense is someone that I want to kind of play in this game. I do like the Steelers. I kind of do like the Dolphins as a cheaper play if you need it as well. From the Dolphins side, it's not really, Denver's has a pretty good Denver has a pretty good defense. Again, I think this game is kind of going to be lower scoring. You have some stuff that's open down the middle of the field, so it could be someone like a Jakeem Grant again at 3,500. I just think this might be a little slower, grinded out type game. You might see a lot lower scoring. Miami's not really rushing the ball as well either, so it could be like a very, very low scoring game. I think if it is high scoring, you're going to kind of see the Miami defense, score some touchdowns, and you might see a lot more passing from Denver. But in this spot, I'm just on the Miami defense. The next game is the game, in my opinion, to target. Let me say that again. The New York Jets and the Chargers this week is going to be the game to target. And let me tell you why. Quarterback, Justin Herbert, throwing it at a pretty good pace the entire year. 21, 26, 28, 41, 27. He's getting you consistent fantasy points every single week. Now, a few weeks ago, I played a play from the Los Angeles Chargers, who was in a good spot against the Oakland Raiders. It had a little bit of wind. They were playing at the new stadium in LA. But again, in this spot on the Chargers, Jaylen Guyton, he's in a really, really good spot. He is their deep threat receiver, and the Jets are giving up the most deep passes to anyone in the league, and Herbert is throwing the deep pass at a fairly solid rate compared to the other receivers in the league. He's at the top third. I feel like there will be significant ownership on Justin Herbert this week. It might be quiet. People might not be talking about it, but you will see his ownership creep up. Jaylen Guyton, typically he's a 1 to 2 catch receiver. So at 3,500, he doesn't provide you with that stability. This is a milli maker play. This is a play that if he catches 2 touchdowns for 70 yards apiece, and he's 3,500 at 0.01 ownership, this is a play that wins you $1 million, right? The more stable plays that I feel like are in a good spot this week, Keenan Allen working out of the slot. Keenan Allen's just been a monster all season long. He's getting the targets, he's getting the work, he's getting the red zone looks. He's as stable as they come, right? So I really like Keenan Allen in this spot. I feel like they're giving up the Jets are giving up significant production down the middle of the field, down deep middle of the field. First off, they're giving up the most deep pass out of anyone in the league. They're ranked 20th out of 32 in the short pass. They're giving up a lot, down short left, down the deep middle, deep right of the field. So this is the spot where I think Keenan Allen can really, really dominate. He could get a lot of targets. I also like Mike Williams. Mike Williams is also kind of like the Guyton play. He is on the field a little less than Guyton, which might surprise you, but he also gets significantly more targets, right? So Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are both solid plays, along with a deep tournament play of Jaylen Guyton. Jaylen Guyton, I wouldn't really put too much onto, but I think this is someone that if he goes off, it's going to tilt a lot of people who have Mike Williams and Allen. So this is what I like to call like if you're going to play Herbert and you just play him with Guyton, this is kind of like a skinny scat play. Let me say that again, a skinny scat. Scat means get the hell out of here. This is a get the hell out of here type receiver. That means get him off the field because we need Mike Williams and Keenan Allen to go off. This is a play that can take away some production from those guys. So I will have exposure to all three, the lowest being Guyton, the highest being Mike Williams. Because of the deep pass ability down the deep right and deep left of the field, I really, really like Mike Williams in this spot. Now, you also saw a couple weeks ago where they played Kansas City, right? The Jets played Kansas City. Everyone thought that game was going to blow out. But what happened is Patrick Mahomes threw for 4 touchdowns. 2 went to Tyreek Hill. You had 1 went to Kelsey. You had 1 went to Hardman. 1 went to Robinson. So he had, 4 or 5 touchdowns, whatever it was. He had a big, big day. So, in that same regard, I feel like these guys are in that same spot. Not to say that Justin Herbert is, Patrick Mahomes, but Justin Herbert has been getting it done. He's on that higher end of the tier of the quarterbacks that are available on the slate. I really, really feel like he's a good play. So if I'm playing Mike Williams, I don't mind pairing him with the Justin Herbert in this spot. Now, on the other side of this game, we're seeing the Chargers give up a lot of production down the middle of the field. The Chargers are 20th against the deep pass. They're giving up 87%. They're giving up, the league average is about 60%. They're giving up 87 to 88% down the deep middle of the field. This is the spot, deep middle and short middle of the field. This is the spot where no one's going to be on Jamison Crowder. This guy is my number 1 play this week. Jamison Crowder is my number 1 play. He's getting the targets, and with Joe Flacco there, he's going to get the consistency, I think. We saw last week, came back from injury. We saw it was kind of more of a Sims type game. And that was, gamed by Belichick to try to take Crowder out of the game. Also, Crowder was coming back from an injury. He was out for a few weeks. That was his first game back. People are going to be like, oh, he's not 100% yet. This is a spot where I can see him and just come out and eat. Arizona, also really bad against the slot receivers. He put up 28.6 points. And that was the same game that Joe Flacco was playing. This guy is probably going to be my number 1 guy across every single lineup this week, Jamison Crowder. I also really, really like Denzel Mims from this game. I feel like, he is going to get some work. We don't know if Brashad Perriman is out yet. He's still questionable. If Brashad Perriman is out, I want Mims. And like I said, this is a kind of a concentrated offense. With the Chargers, it's a little more spread out. You are getting Mike Williams getting some. You're getting Keenan Allen get some. You're getting Hunter Henry actually get some work. With the Jets, it's only a few people that are getting the work. That's why I'm also actually leaning in this particular scenario to take Joe Flacco. Now, Joe Flacco, he doesn't have that huge upside. Justin Herbert provides you with that huge upside. But if this game goes how I think it might go, Flacco put up 21 points last week. You have a $4,800 Taysom Hill. You have a lot of cheap plays. You have a $5,500 Joe Burrow this week. You have a lot of cheap plays that you can play. Joe Flacco is going unowned, and he will be in 1 out of my 3 lineups this week. I know it's a scary play. His floor is very low. He's 6'6". He had a 6-point floor against Miami. But Miami, again, like I said before, it was good against the pass. This is arguably the best matchup that they're getting this year. I really like Crowder. And I really like Mims in this spot as well, right? I like Denzel Mims because I feel he's going to get the work. So in this type of scenario, I may want to even say, okay, since I'm taking a little bit, a more riskier quarterback in Flacco, I'm taking the double stack with Crowder and Mims. I may want to plug in Keenan Allen for more of kind of a salary relief, right? Going to the next game, so the plays from the Jets and the Chargers, the ones that I'm really targeting are going to be Number 1 is going to be Jamison Crowder. Number 2 is a tie between Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. And number 3 is going to be a tie between Denzel Mims and Jaylen Guyton. I'm not really going to Herndon. I'm not really taking the running backs from this game. Both rushing defenses are pretty decent. So I just want the pass catchers. This is kind of like the Buffalo, Arizona for me last week. Obviously, these teams are nowhere near those offenses, but this is a spot that I think could really, really pay off. Green Bay and Indy is the highest game on the slate. This game is going to be heavily, heavily targeted. And my fear is that this game is going to bust. It's not really a fear. That's my take. Green Bay is pretty bad against the deep passes. Phillip Rivers is throwing deep passes, but not at an incredibly high rate, He's throwing some deep passes. He's kind of a serviceable quarterback, right? He's been getting there. 22. He had one good game against Cincinnati. Aside from that, he's just a guy, right? So it's not someone that I'm on. Rodgers, on the other hand, has had a really, really good season. Devontae Adams has had a really, really good season. The problem here is that Indy is really, really good against the pass. They're 5th against short passes, 11th against long passes, and Indy is also really, really good against the run. Against the run right now, Indy is 7th, allowing 3.74 yards per carry. Now, I feel like this game, it could shoot out, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit slower type pace game. I feel like this could also go under the total that Vegas is projecting it for. Devontae Adams at 8,600 makes for a great play. Like I said, Indy is giving up some deep passes down the left side of the field, so you could see like a double move from Devontae Adams for a 40-yard touchdown or something like that. But I don't think it's as likely. I think it'll be more methodical. They might work Jamal Williams in a little bit more. You might get a little bit passing to Aaron Jones. This offense is kind of spread out too. With Green Bay specifically, it's a little more spread out offense. Allen Lazard is coming back this week, so I think like it's going to cut into a little bit of Scantling, and that's going to cut into a little bit of Tanyan as well. So there's just plenty of options here on this side that I understand the total's high, but the prices on the receivers on Adams is high, the price on Rodgers is high, and the price on Aaron Jones is decent. Right, on the other side, on Indy's side, I really like their rushing matchups. We know that Green Bay's been getting torched all year long. They're really bad against the run. Green Bay is 25th out of 32 against the run. They're not stuffing the running back. They're giving up 4.6 yards a carry. The problem is, who are you going to play? Right? Are you going to play Taylor? Is it going to be Hines? Is it going to be Wilkins? You really don't know who it's going to be. We know Hines is kind of their pass-catching back, but he had 12 attempts last week against Tennessee. We have Jonathan Taylor. He had 7 attempts. And then you have Wilkins, who had the bulk of the carries the week before, had 8 attempts. So you're seeing that, okay, Hines got a lot of that work, but it's kind of like a timeshare. They're all getting 33%. So I really don't want any pieces of that, right? It could be, they could all each get 1 touchdown. And I feel like that's not a play where I want to play. Like I said before, I want someone who's going to be a quarterback who's going to be throwing it in the red zone, and I want a running back who's going to be a team that's rushing the most in the red zone. So for me, I really don't like any pieces of this Indy offense. Green Bay has been pretty good. Like I said, Green Bay is giving up down the deep passes. So you could take a shot on Pittman, you could take a shot on Pascal, you could take a shot on T.Y. Hilton. They're all fairly cheap. In a high-scoring game, you could argue that they could get there. They could get 3x, 4x. They could get there, but I think that you have 3 running backs and 3 receivers, and you got Trey Burton, Mo Alley Cox, you got 2 tight ends, and they're all getting work, right? It could be the defense that gets a sack return for a touchdown, I really don't know. So I feel like Green Bay and Indy, for fantasy purposes, is too spread out for me to kind of want to target anyone. The last game on the slate is the second game that I think could be a great, great play. My number 1 game that I'm going to this week, again, is going to be that New York Jets and the Chargers. I feel like that game is going to go under own. People think the Jets suck. I kind of predicted on Monday Night Football that the Jets would beat the Patriots. They came pretty close, right? But it didn't work out. I think the Jets are going to put up a good showing this week. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll kind of eat it and move on to the next slate. But that's my number one game. The number two game this week for me is Dallas and Minnesota. These are both horrible defenses, right? Minnesota is down their corners. Dallas is down pretty much everybody. It's a good passing matchup. You have Andy Dalton coming back this week, which I think could make for a good play. They have good wide receivers on Dallas too. You have Cooper, Lamb, and Gallup. Gallup is only 3,700. I think he makes for an interesting tournament play. He is getting the work, and Minnesota is giving up a bunch down the deep middle and deep right of the field. So I do like CeeDee Lamb, Gallup, and Amari Cooper equally. The problem is figuring out who it's going to be. My favorite target from this game is actually Dalton Schultz. I don't know if Andy Dalton's going to be throwing deep passes much, but I feel like with Dalton Schultz in there, he's going to get some of those short dump offs, right? I also really like Zeke this week, but they're pretty good against the short passes. Zeke is someone that no one is talking about this week. I've heard a couple people mention it. Minnesota is pretty good against the short pass. Against the rush, Minnesota right now is 27th, giving up 4.8 yards a carry. The problem for me with Zeke is Dallas's offensive line. Dallas's offensive line right now is getting stuffed at 30th at 20% of the time. So Zeke to me is an ultimate tournament play. This week, if this is a week where I feel like you can plug in Zeke and plug in some of the receivers from Minnesota if you feel like Zeke is the one who's going to get more of the rushing touchdowns in this game. But this is a week where I feel like Zeke could actually break the slate. So I want to get to at least 1 to 2 shares of him in that scenario, because the rushing matchup is pretty good. And if we think that coming out of a bye, if they can figure out a way to get Zeke the ball, I think this is really good, going to be a good spot for him. Kind of keep an injury. He did practice Wednesday. He had the hamstring. He still has the hamstring injury. I know that, Tony Pollard is getting some of those touches there, but I feel like this could be a Zeke game. On the other side, it's the chalk of the week, right? It's Dalvin Cook at 9,000. People are gonna try to jam him into the lineup, and I am probably gonna do the same. Dalvin Cook overall is the number one play on the slate. You gotta realize one thing though. This 9,000 price, he's priced for perfection. If he doesn't give you that perfect 40 game, you're going to be behind. He's $9,000. We saw last week Devontae Adams was $9,000. He got 30 points. He got there, but he wasn't in the Millie Maker lineup. So it is a tougher fit. You're going to have to make some tougher decisions if you want to get Dalvin Cook into your lineup. But this is somewhere where I feel like he's going against, we saw this game, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where James Conner was chalk, right? Or James Conner was a little lower owned going against Dallas. Pittsburgh offensive line for the rush is 31st. They're not really doing well against the rush, but they're not getting sacked much. They're not doing well with the rushing game, but they're not getting sacked much. Dalvin Cook has the best offensive line in football right now, and he's getting the most touches out of any running back. This is a smash spot for Dalvin Cook. The case you can say is that if, Dallas does move the ball, and Minnesota Minnesota gets behind, you could say that a contrarian play would be to play kind of Justin Jefferson. Dallas is giving up a lot to the wide receivers as well, but inside the 10-yard line, they're running the ball more than anything else, So I think that this week, Dalvin Cook is kind of someone that you really want to get to in these spots, right? So this is the kind of lineup I'm looking to kind of do. I'll kind of show you guys a few builds that I'm considering right now, and, we'll kind of wrap it up from there. One of my favorite lineups is this one right here, okay? You got Dalvin Cook jammed in there. You got Antonio Gibson. We got Crowder, Mike Williams I'm running it back with. So I got a double stack with Joe Flacco, Mims, who's cheap enough to where I feel like he can get the targets. Again, I'm choosing the Jets because the targets are condensed, right? So I'm taking Crowder, Mims. I'm running it back with Mike Williams because I want that deep play receiver. I have some stability, right, with Crowder and Mims. I want that deep shot receiver who's going to kind of go and get me that big play to try to break the slate, right? If Bridgewater is out, I really like Mike Davis. And on the other side, it depends on the injury news. But if we get, Kenny Golladay out again and Marvin Jones questionable or limited, whatever the scenario is, I feel like Hawkinson is in a really good spot. Like I said before, I don't think Jacksonville is going to move the ball well this weekend. So I like the Steelers defense. I do like Antonio Gibson again from that game. There's not really a run back here. This is assuming that Gibson gets, Washington gets out to a lead, and I do like playing the jock Dalvin Cook. Another lineup that I like a little bit. That I like a little bit better. That one was my favorite lineup. I like Justin Herbert also because I said he provides you that rushing floor, and he also gives you that passing upside touchdown. So I want the big play guys here, right? I want Mike Williams. I want Jaylen Guyton. The reason I have Crowder in this lineup is because I can't fit Keenan out, right? Like if I want those big plays, I want some stability, and I also want some upside, right? So it gives me kind of like the stability with the Crowder that he's going to get the volume, and then I want some of the volume for Mike play with some big playability, and then kind of like a cheap tournament dart with Jaylen Guyton, right? Like I said, Guyton's not getting targets. He's getting 1 to 2 targets. This is a deep tournament play, but it's someone where I think that I can kind of, get an edge on those stacks, those Justin Herbert stacks that have Keenan Allen in them. Right now, I also will probably try to make a stack with Keenan Allen in it, with Jamison Crowder bring back, or Keenan Allen and Mike Williams with the Jamison Crowder bring back. But you're kind of seeing what I'm looking to do this week. I have J.D. McKissic, who I think that if they get behind, he's going to get those targets, so it provides me some stability there. I got some big play in T. Higgins, right? Like he's going to go get that deep touchdown, whether it's in the beginning of the game or whether playing from behind, it's towards the end of the game. I feel like he has that upside. I like Dalvin Cook, again, like I feel he's in a smash spot, and I'm running it back with Dalton Schultz, right? Because he's getting those short middle passes. So this is the lineup I really like. Also, I'm taking the best defense on the board. I also told you guys I really do like the Dolphins' defense this week. Steelers are expensive. I expect them to go a little under-owned. It could bust in this spot, but I think it's more likely I actually think that the Steelers have a chance to get a touchdown this week. So I'm kind of a little higher on them than I was a couple weeks ago. And then a last lineup that I have right now kind of as a saver. These are saver lineups, and I will do another update prior to lock. But again, this is another lineup. Like I like Joe Flacco. I like Crowder. And then you have a double bring back with Keenan Allen and Williams. I also said that, in that Atlanta game, there's so many options. I don't mind taking a little bit of Jared Cook if he happens to get some work. But, I really don't love it. James Conner against Jacksonville. So this is a lineup, and the Dolphins defense with Denzel Mims. So this is a lineup I'm not really interested in kind of running. This will probably be adjusted. I'll probably try to fit like an Antonio Gibson or a J.D. McKissic into these lineups. So at quarterback this week, I think I think Lamar Jackson is in a good spot. My number 1 overall quarterback is Justin Herbert. Number 2 for me would probably be, I think Deshaun Watson has significant upside. It's someone who I'd like to try to get to. But overall, my pool is going to be pretty narrow, and this is a week where you don't have those big names at the top. So this is a week where I feel like if you want to take a chance on a lower owned quarterback, the difference in price in points might be marginal. You might have a 27 versus like a 21, right? So it allows you to get to the bigger running back plays. At running back, so I'll go number 1 for me is Justin Herbert overall. I do like Flacco as number 2. I honestly might not even get to Deshaun Watson. I probably might just go Joe Flacco and Justin Herbert. At running back, overall, number 1 play for me is Dalvin Cook. Number 2, my pool is really kind of limited. I like Antonio Gibson and McKissic. I like McKissic a little bit more this week. It'll kind of depend on where ownership is. And as I do a little more research, I'll kind of figure out where exactly I want to go there. And I do like Mike Davis. I think Mike Davis is a good play if Teddy Bridgewater is out. If Teddy Bridgewater is in, I'm kind of going to go way lighter on Mike Davis. A lot of people are on Adrian Peterson. Like I said, it's not a great – they don't have a great Detroit does not have a great offensive line, right? So, the matchup is good, but your offensive line's got to create the gaps for you to get there. Right, and their offensive line is not great. They're 22nd right now in the league. They're getting stuffed at 27% rate. So while the play on who's that guy on Swift was good, it's because he was a pass catching running back. I don't really like Adrian Peterson that much, and if he's chalk, he's chalk. I'm still gonna fade that in that case. In that 4,000 scenario, I'd rather play Denzel Mims or someone like a Jaylen Guyton. So I'll say at running back, Dalvin Cook number 1. I like Antonio Gibson, I like McKissic a little more, and I like Mike Davis. I'm not really. I might try to get a little bit of Ezekiel Elliott's in my lineup, but I'm not really on too many other guys. Derrick Henry's good. Jones is not in a bad spot, but those are just those are the takes right now. Dalvin Cook for me, number one. Number two is going to be a mix of J.D. McKissic, Antonio Gibson, and three would probably be the Mike Davis, and then potentially if I want to try to get some Zeke. If I'm going to get Zeke in the lineup, I kind of want to run it back with Justin Jefferson and Minnesota pass catchers, because I feel like obviously only one person's going to have the ball at a time, right? So if Zeke's rushing, I don't want Dalvin Cook. And I'm just much higher on Dalvin Cook this week than I'm on Zeke. So I might have one contrarian lineup with Zeke in there with Justin Jefferson or some pass catchers from Minnesota side. At wide receiver, my number one overall play this week is going to be Jamison Crowder. Hands down. I'm taking him first. Any lineup that I build, Jamison Crowder is going to be my first play. Number two is probably a tie between Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. I like Denzel Mims as number three, and I like T. Higgins as number four. It's just a very narrow pool. Tight end's kind of a wasteland. I like Hawkinson, and I like Schultz. Those are the only two tight ends I really like. Flex depends on how you're playing. Are you playing a cheaper running back? Are you playing a more expensive running back? So you guys kind of got the plays that I'm there. I might go 3 running backs, one, or I might go 4 receivers. Not sure yet. And defense, I do like the Steelers at number 1, and I like the Dolphins at number 2. So this might change a little bit, depending on news, but you guys will kind of see where I'm at. I mean, for me, like I said, Jamison Crowder is going to be the face on the cover of this, the thumbnail of this image. He's going to be my number 1 play, and I hope he goes low owned. So good luck, guys. Good luck this week, and I hope you guys do well. Again, like, subscribe, share it if you find this information helpful. If the information sucks, leave a thumbs down, I guess. I don't know. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys back here hopefully for the Sunday Night Showdown video. Good luck.